footprint as we're doing a lot of that work in our schools with boilers, HVAC, etc. So it moves on toward that goal. This will help fit a number of buses, and it's going to help us move forward in not only transporting our students to and from school, but also the green footprint on it. And again, I'm deeply appreciative of Congressman Neal's continued efforts on that. With that, I'm joined here by our superintendent, Dr. Sonia Dinnall, who will be speaking, but I will turn it over to Congressman Neal, who will really get into more of the specifics on these grants, which many a times are lifelines to urban mayors across the country. Congressman Richard E. Neal.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, acknowledging the good work of the Springfield School Department and the superintendent is where we have to start in terms of the application process. And the mayor's commitment, as he noted, to the idea of reducing the carbon footprint, which is something we all ought to be able to agree on. This announcement comes from the United States Department of Environmental Protection. It's just about almost $10 million to buy buses, electric vehicles. And let me say that if we were to deny or delay these sorts of investments, the only government that would help is China. This commitment that we've made to clean energy across America has to be sustained. So I'm quite proud of the fact that the funding here comes from the Inflation Reduction Act, which was written in the Ways and Means Committee when I was chairman. And now the benefits are beginning to inure to the people of America. So despite the differences we might have from time to time, and I understand where the questions are going to go immediately after this, this investment that we've made in clean technology is really important. So I would argue that the electrification and charging stations are qualified here as well, that this investment is going to be important to the American people for decades and decades to come. Yesterday, a Chinese company, as it relates to technology and information, they challenged NVIDIA, essentially, with artificial intelligence. And this is where the competition internationally is going to go. So, as of last weekend, we were ahead. Now, that's the reason that we also wrote the Science and Chips Act to increase software production in the United States, not relying on Taiwan, not relying on South Korea for that money. Again, as the superintendent will reinforce in a moment, these are investments that take place over a long, long period of time. And this is a really good investment for the people of Springfield. So to the mayor's leadership and to the superintendent's leadership, I think that's what counts. And I know where the questions are going when I'm done with this. I'm ready. Thank you.
We'll be ready to take those questions. And now our Superintendent Dr. Sonia Dinnall.
Thank you so much, Congressman Neal, for never forgetting about us in the 413. Your leadership means the world to us. Thank you for remembering us nationally as well as locally. And of course, our education mayor, Mayor Domenic Sarno, always putting the children of the city first. I can say that emphatically, always putting the children of the city first. And as a former science teacher, I am just thrilled to see that the electric car that I was teaching my students about so many years ago has finally taken front and center and is doing a great deal of good to reduce our carbon footprint. As those of us here who enjoy living on this beautiful planet, we know that doing what we can to reduce emissions is critical. Removing CFCs from the atmosphere, reducing smog and all the other pollutants. Not only are we leaving our beautiful country and world for our students to live in, as we educate them about their responsibility to the environment, this type of support, this type of grant allows us to make it very real to them. Talk about making that real world connection. So again, thank you, Congressman Neal. Thank you, Mayor Sarno. We could not do any of this without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Very nice. Yeah, I see you there, 30 Rock. I'm sure you're going to have some questions or comments, and of course with Congressman Neal and Dr. Dinnall, but go ahead, fire away.
Yeah,
Again, there's always precautions that are taken. We have electric buses that the PVTA, Sandra Sheen runs, and we had no issues whatsoever. Again, I don't know what specifically occurred out at Wilbraham with that bus situation, so I'm not going to comment further on that. But PVTA has run electric buses for a number of years, thanks to the efforts of Congressman Neal on it. So when we look forward on this, this helps, again, reduce the carbon footprint. And she's a science teacher and did a great job elaborating on it. But we have not had any issues with PVTA with the electric school buses. And also, as Congressman Neal alluded to, I believe it's about 11 charging stations that come about. And we're looking to do some other charging stations also on a separate note near the riverfront area. It's a balancing act. People like electric vehicles, fine. The ones that like the conventional vehicles, that's fine too on it. So I don't know the specific situation that occurred in Wilbraham, but I still think that this is important to us, and I deeply appreciate the congressman's effort. Pat Roach will tell you, and Kathy Bono on my finance side will tell you, school busing is a big budget buster, well over $40 million on the city side. And when you look upon that, there was an edict or legislation on the state many, many years ago that we were supposed to get full reimbursement. We've never gotten any reimbursement whatsoever. So this might help us as far as cutting down that budget buster. Also might give us a little bit of leverage also. But let me turn it over to, I don't know if Congress wants to speak on it or Dr. Dinnall on it.
I've noticed that.
We knew that was
Yeah, I bet you folks were right on it this morning too, right? This will be carried through. And I think clearly that there's a series of challenges here, but I've been an opponent of presidents, Democrat and Republican, that have tried this. By way of credential, I challenged Bill Clinton over the line item veto, and he was a close then and now pal of mine. And this goes back to an argument that Richard Nixon had about the ability to impound spending. So this, staff informs me this morning, was not really a challenge of impoundment as much as it was an alert, something along those lines, a pause. And I assume that this is more of getting attention. But we'll win a court case on this, and all of a sudden in the Inflation Reduction Act, which has $1.2 trillion of tax credits, these are in the marketplace already. These are being sold in the open market spot. And coupled with the fact that on the infrastructure bill, everywhere you go, there's an infrastructure project right now because the money has been going out the door. And I think as it relates to the CHIPS Act, those investments have been made. So are you going to stop building in Columbus, Ohio, an Intel manufacturing center? I get the politics of this, but there's also a policy that is corresponding to it. And the policy says that members of Congress don't serve under presidents of the United States. You serve with presidents of the United States. And I think that congressionally directed spending, along with superb grant applications, congratulations to the school department and to the mayor's commitment, I'm going to rephrase this, the only country that will benefit from us pulling back on these green energy commitments is China. And let me also use the moment to correct the technical record here, which is important. I believe that the White House put out last night or this morning, they were saying they were going to bring to a halt the Green New Deal. There has never been a Green New Deal. There's never been a hearing on it in Congress. There's never been a vote in Congress. The Inflation Reduction Act, which I helped to author with Mike Thompson and Roel Blumenauer as members of Congress, that's legislation. So I think that there was a bit of a facade that was constructed over this. We're going to get rid of the Green New Deal. There is not legislation called the Green New Deal.
Just let me point out with the congressman, and he's always been so beneficial, CDBG funds, which is a lifeline to mayors across the country, whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or a Republican. The CDBG money funds go to housing, helping people buy new homes. Go to businesses, helping to save jobs and create more jobs. Go to parks, go to youth development, you name it. So that's a big thing there, and I would hope that the administration would know that that affects people of all creed, colors, and backgrounds, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. And as you continue to move forward, can you see a new administration coming in that wants to take a look at situations with the new secretariats coming in? Yep, fine. But you have HUD funding, which the Congressman's been great, and Kathy Bunno can speak on that. That's a lot of funding that comes into cities and towns across America. And it's beneficial and goes to the heart of what government is about. Not only helping out, but empowering. So we'll wait and see. I know, with Congressman Neal continuing to fight for us and the delegation, we'll see. I understand that I reviewed it earlier this morning that February 10th they want the reports from those divisions on it. But let's see what comes about from it, because this affects everybody across the board. Education's very important. Dr. Dinnall will tell you that a lot of federal funding comes in on that side too. So I would hope that the administration believes that we have to keep educational aspects going for everyone and anyone. So right now, and Congress can speak more on it, things are frozen. Now, some of the things that have been allocated, as the Congressman indicated, have already been awarded to us. So we'll see. I hope that cooler heads prevail. Do your review. Court cases take a while. And meantime, businesses, housing, young people, parks, you name it, things will have to be put on hold. So let's see what happens at that point in time. I don't know if the Congressman wants to comment any other questions, or Dr. Dinnall on it.
Yeah, I think members of Congress would challenge this for sure. And again, the other interesting part about this, and this is not a partisan statement, but our Republican colleagues and friends, they have always argued that they didn't want concentrated power. Well, if you go forward with this, it's concentrated power. And I think that the roles here might be a bit juxtaposed, but the reality is that the ongoing conversation and argument over this is likely to be finished in a court case. Congress will win a court case if the term impoundment is used rather than pause. I do think you want to pay attention to that term pause as opposed to impoundment.
Any other questions or comments? Dr. Jones, you want to say anything else? Okay. Yes, Wes. Wes is taking over this press conference. 30 Rock. Dr. Dinnall put out a good update to all the schools and all the school families and principals out there. A major objective here, and I sit at the school committee meeting last Thursday evening right in here. We are obligated to teach the students that come to the city of Springfield, and we will continue to do that. I've been upfront indicating that if someone, I would treat the same way if you're a citizen of the United States of America, or you're an illegal immigrant and you're creating criminal activities or violent crimes, that's a different story, and that has to be dealt with differently. So, targeting those criminals or violent offenders, all for that, whether you're a citizen or you're a non-citizen, because we don't want those individuals on our streets or in our neighborhoods. As far as the young people, I'll have Dr. Dinnall and Congressman Neal speak to. We are there to educate them, and we never turn anybody away. The only remote thing occurred if there was some type of a criminal activity that occurred. But other than that, we are here to educate the children that come before us here in the city of Springfield. I don't know if Dr. Dinnall wants to go or Congressman Neal would like to speak on it.
No, I just think the distinction that the mayor has drawn is the appropriate one, and that is that if one has been convicted of a serious felony and they're in the country, they should be deported. There's a difference, however, between those children that were born here who might have parents that are undocumented, who have been able to abide by law, have made their families grow here, and by the way, contributed to the economic success of the country. This will get considerably more complicated with the meatpacking houses in the Midwest, because they are overwhelmingly staffed by law-abiding, undocumented immigrants. The point that I've been making in the last 24 hours, too, that I think bears note here. Undocumented immigrants, again, those who abide by the law, go to work every day, and are part of the fabric. They contribute $25 billion a year to the Social Security Trust Fund. And why is that important? It's important because they use fictitious names. The problem with that is that even though they contribute to the Social Security Trust Fund legitimately, which by the way pays for Medicare and Social Security, they will never derive the benefit because they've invented a name. But they have numbers, they use those, so the money, in what we call withholding, the money is taken out of their checks. They're paid by checks. And the result is that they contribute to the fabric every day. So my argument here is let's have a more calm conversation about the law-abiding who have raised families here as opposed to criminals. That's a different conversation.
Dr. Dinnall, please. And again, the comprehensive edict she had sent out to Azelle.
So, truth be told, we were all illegal immigrants to the United States of America. If we're being honest, there is a group called the Indigenous Americans, Indigenous People, and it would behoove us to make sure that we continue to make this a welcoming place. We want to make sure that our students, who are very anxious and very stressed about the current state of affairs, we want to support them emotionally, we want to support them educationally, we want to make sure that we're partnering with community-based organizations that will help us do our level best to educate and protect our students. It is not our job or our desire to interfere or interrupt anything that is legal, but we want to make sure that our students understand school is still a safe place. We all can relate to the immigrant's reality, and that we want to make sure that we humanize this experience and make sure that we know students are at the center and we don't want to do any harm to our students whatsoever. So we just really have to reflect on what it means to be American and how we can support our students to feel welcomed and safe and protected so that they can get the education that they're here for.
Thank you, Dr. Dinnall. And very eloquently put. Everybody knows how I feel when it comes to criminal activity, especially violent crime, repeat violent offenders. I have no tolerance for it, nor do I have any patience. Whether you're a citizen or you're not a citizen. Not going to stand for it, and I want the full extent of the law and punishment to come their way. Going back to the compassionate side, you're looking at a young kid, young child's eyes. And that's where we're giving them the opportunity for education so they can lift themselves up and their families. That's the right thing to do there, and not to put them in harm's way. So, as Congressman Neal had indicated, and myself, criminal activity, especially violent criminal activity, is not going to be tolerated, whether you're a United States citizen or a non-citizen or illegal. And that has to be dealt with. We'll cooperate with that. But to the young kids or the children, unless there's something in high school or middle school that's criminally, something tied that specific, we're there to educate our kids. And that's the right thing to do.
If they're born here, they're Americans.
Oh, yeah. So that's the line of distinction I've drawn. I think Jeanette DeForge was at the school committee meeting last Thursday evening. I made the same statements. on it. So we'll go from there. Where we need to cooperate on violent criminal or criminal activity, we will. But I mean, looking into a child's eye and for reasons not connected with them, you're going to pull them out of school. That's not right. We are the land of opportunity, and you got to help our kids to help themselves and be able to help their families. But criminal activity, whether citizen or a non-citizen or a legal migrant, if you're doing criminal activities and violent criminal activities, no patience, no tolerance. You have to face the full brunt of the law, or prosecution or punishment, and in turn, if you have to be deported, you have to be deported. Kids is a different story. Students is a different story at that point in time, unless there was something specific. But our obligation, as Dr. Dinnall indicated, we're going to be there to lift up our kids and make sure that they have an opportunity to provide for themselves and help their families. I'll have Dr. Now, I'm not aware of it, and again, Dr. Dinnall did put out a really specific informational package out there. I'm not aware of that, and to put them as collateral damage is not right. So, Dr. Dinnall.
We haven't seen a current impact on our attendance. We're trusting that our students and our families know that we are here to support them. Our counselors are on the ready, as well as other staff members, to ensure that we continue to reassure our parents that our city is supportive, as the mayor always is. We know our congressman is supportive. Locally, we're very supportive of our students, and we continue to collaborate with CBOs that help us protect our kids.
Thank you, Kiara. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Jeanette? Yes. EPA. Well, as the congressman alluded to, we're going to move forward. We're going to monitor the situation. We deeply appreciate what Congressman Neal's able to do for us. There's a lot of different components to that EPA Act, which would be very beneficial to any and all here in the city of Springfield. But we'll continue to monitor the situation. But I'll let Congressman Neal comment on it. If you need any more specifics, I have my CAFO, Kathy Bunahoe. Richie, would you like to comment on that?
My assumption is this is already being implemented as we speak. So the interruption here that was proposed as of this morning should not be applied.
We're already starting to draw, am I correct? We're already starting to draw down upon that. But we're going to continue to monitor the situation. That was to everybody involved, that was a big grant for the city of Springfield to get one of the few, I think, in New England area to receive it also. And we appreciate Congressman Neal being able to shepherd that. So we're going to continue to move forward. We're going to monitor, again, CDBG funds are a lifeline to mayors across the country, whether you're a Republican, independent, or a Democrat. And I would hope President Trump looks upon it that way, because that again helps businesses, housing, which is desperately needed, youth development, parks, you go on and on and on, job creation type things. So, and then we'll see what happens with the infrastructure program, which Congressman Neal championed. That puts a lot of people to work, and I'm sure a lot of those people are Democrats, Republicans, and independents. But that's money in their pocketbook, or wallet, which then can spin off in the economy. So You know, new administration, like anything, you want to review things within reason, but hopefully common sense prevails.
The infrastructure bill was bipartisan.
Yes.
Republicans voted for the infrastructure bill. And this is going to be a bit technical, it's drill down, but these funds were authorized and appropriated. That's a key consideration here. So I anticipate that the infrastructure bill is not the subject of today's press announcement.
Thank you, Congressman. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for being here. Obviously, this was about the electric buses, but we knew that you'd be looking to ask questions pertaining to the edict that came from the White House on it. So, Congressman's available, Dr. Dinnall, myself, anybody else here is available. But thank you very much. Thank you, Focus Springfield, for being here too. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for changing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.